Right now, we want to examine 7 cardinal ways to know if you have spirit spouse, spirit husband, spirit wife, dream husband. These are the telltale signs or the pointers or things you might see in your life or happening around you, in you, through you, and that has been occurring or experiences that you have, and you know that you have a spirit spouse or spirit spouses. You remember that spirit spouse is about 70% occurrence both in and outside the church. It's a major problem, it's a biggie, and it's a bleeding problem. In fact, in many deliverances or in many cases of demonization or demonic infiltration, possession, oppression, torment, or demonic encounter with humans, at least more than 70% of cases involve spirit spouses. The enemy understands covenant. He knows about contact, contamination, pollution, because without contact, there's no contamination. Without contract, there's no covenant. And the enemy knows a lot about covenant. And contact with a mysterious spirit spouse is one of the greatest way of demonic oppression, demonic bewitchment, demonic torment, demonic oppression, and pollution, perversion, adversity, and problems. It can even lead to health problems. It can lead to relationship upheavals. It can also lead to even health issues, financial ruin or murder, or even can cause death or demise, as the case may be. So these are ways the enemy uses to truncate destinies. And you always hear me say that the enemy is always interested in marriage, that God is pro-life, God is pro-marriage, God is procreational, God is generational. Satan is against all this. That even when people try to hook up or come together, the enemy will do everything in his power to break that marriage. And you hear me also say that anything spiritual is greater, much more powerful, much more efficacious than anything natural. So spiritual marriage is supernatural marriage, is demonic wedlock and deadlock, and it creates more problem than anything else in relationship or in this life, especially marriages or relationship with the opposite sex. And of course, with marriage comes procreation and the building or the foundation of the family, which actually comes even before the church. God built the family before he built the church. So it's an important area of bewitchment, of bondage, of demonic stripping or truncation of destiny. And it can even cause all kinds of mayhem, upheaval, just like I sketched out. So there are 7 cardinal points I just listed out. I distilled it into 7 points for the sake of simplicity. Now, number 1 of them is sexual dreams. Very common. Most demons are, of course, sexual demons, so they are responsible for sexual dreams. The number 2 is the so-called water dreams. Number 3 is what we call dream pollution, defilement, or contamination. Number 4 is love advances, or what I call the mystery of relationship. Number 5 is physical or messing with sexual or reproductive organs. Sex may not be involved. Number 6 is physical evidence or hormonal issues, both in men and women. I will sketch it out for us eventually. And number 7 is lack of affection in any relationship, especially the opposite sex. So it doesn't matter whether it is, being acquaintance or friends, or engagement, being a fiancé, then marriage itself, divorce, or separation. I will just get each one of them. Let's fleshing them out one by one after the other. Number one of these 6 telltale signs to know if you have spirit spouse or even spouses or not. Number one is sexual dreams. Listen, child of God. Anytime there is sex in the dream, it has no other interpretation than that is spirit marriage. Sex is so powerful that the enemy knows that nobody will come into this earth without sex or going through the channel of sex. So the enemy now uses it to pervert it, to use it to divert, use it to put people in bondage, use it to ensnare, use it to entrap, use it to enslave, use it to imprison, and use it to destroy or decimate destinies, or can even kill and eliminate the person out of fear. So sex is so powerful that it can bring down anything, especially marine spirit husband. Nearly 100% of sexual demons or demons in general, including Satan himself, always are equally or in addition sexual demons. So if you experience any form of sex in the dream, it doesn't matter the type, the person is linked or is hooked up or is taken or is being claimed by a spirit spouse, either a spirit husband or a spirit wife. Remember, we also call them dream husband, dream wife. Sometimes we call them husband of the night, wife of the night. Sometimes we call them nightmares or curses or night curses. They come in different ways and have different names. Sometimes some people call them night visitors. So, and anytime there is sexual dream and the enemy knows that this is a very big one, it has no other definition, it has no other interpretation. This is one of the dreams that has one interpretation and one interpretation only: demonic marriage covenant, pointing to the fact that the person is married in a demonic deadlock or wedlock. And let me tell you, it doesn't matter whether it happens once or twice or thrice or occasionally, the fact is still the same, and the interpretation of the dream is unchanged, is sure. Number 2 telltale sign is the so-called water dreams. Now, if you see yourself in the dream like in a beach or pool or seaside or waterside or in any body of water, just know that it's pointing to marine spirits. Sometimes if you see yourself living underwater, having a family or a home underwater, or wedding underwater, or holding hands with a man you don't see the face, or swimming with, fishes or human beings or creatures or entities, and you wake up and think it's nothing, no. That means there's marine contamination and the person has been taken in the spirit in a matrimony, unholy wedlock. So it comes in different ways. Some people see themselves underwater doing one thing or one activity or another with a partner or with someone they don't know, or even with somebody they can recognize. It doesn't matter. But anytime you see any of these water dreams or body of water in one way or the other, or even water coming into your house, or flood of water coming into your bedroom or sitting room, or even restroom, it doesn't matter, or a flood, it is the same thing, the same definition, the same description, and the same pointer, and the same qua that marine spirit is at work, and they are majority of these sexual demons. Number 3 is dream pollution. This one is a biggie, and I'm going to read some scriptures. Don't forget that dream pollution may or may not involve sex, yet is still pointing to spiritual union or spiritual marriage or some form of spiritual contamination by demonic forces, entities, principalities, powers, familiar spirits, ashmodi, marine powers or marine alliance. Sometimes there are many, or they come in different phases, just like in number 1. Now I want to read something I saw in Deuteronomy, because this defilement can be nocturnal emission or the so-called wet dreams. And I'm going to go back to Deuteronomy 23 verse 10, and I'm reading the NIV version. It says, if one of you men is unclean because of a nocturnal emission, he is to go outside the camp and stay there. Now let's look at 11. But as evening approaches, he is to wash himself, and as sunset, he may return to the camp. In other words, no matter the reason, if a man has nocturnal emission, and a woman too in this modern time, it doesn't matter the reason, it doesn't matter the cause, it doesn't matter why, it doesn't matter who caused it, it doesn't matter whether somebody is stimulating his or her sexual organ, or through spirit of lust, or through sexting, texting, or through masturbation, or through pornography, or through what I call thinking. Once the person sleeps and this thing happens, in the Old Testament, the person will be banished. So this law is still true up to today. So anytime there's nocturnal emission, there's problem. And dream pollution is a complex. It may involve sex in the dream. It may be wet dream or nocturnal emission. It may be seeing somebody or someone naked in the dream, or seeing people naked having sex or with different sex organs. Indecent exposure is also dream pollution. Seeing yourself in restrooms is also dream pollution. Seeing the person flying in the dream, eating in the dream, being injected in the dream, or seeing filth or violent or accident scene, they are all part of dream pollution complex. So I want to read another thing the Lord was talking about here, also about dream pollution. Now I will tell you the implication before I go to the 4th one. I'm reading from 2 Corinthians chapter 7 from verse 1. Says, having therefore this promise, dearly beloved, let us cleanse ourselves from all filthiness of the flesh and spirit, perfecting holiness in the fear of the Lord. In the book of James, or rather Jude, the Bible talks about filthy dreamers. And this kind of filthy dream, the Lord looks away if it happens to anybody. The angels back off. The Holy Spirit become quiet and uncooperative. The person enters into a state of impossibility, because the Lord is of purer eye than to behold iniquity. When the person is in this state, he will pray and fast, nothing happens. He won't even connect it to the dream, or dream pollution, or the nocturnal emission, or the defilement that has happened in the night before. So these demons are very good in doing this, especially the phantom spirit husband, or what we call imaginary spirit husband, because in this case, sex is not involved, but they can mess up or mess with the person's sex organ, especially the reproductive organs. They like to mess with it, including messing with female hormone. We'll come to that. So defilement is part of what you see. You know that one way or the other, there's a spiritual contamination. And remember, I told you, without contact, there's no contamination. And without contamination, there's no covenant of pollution. And the dream pollution is a biggie when it comes to spiritual marriages, or covenant marriages, or demonic wedlock. Number 4 is what I call love advances. This is a big one, and I will explain. Anytime in the dream, sex mustn't be involved. If there are love advances, like if somebody is trying to propose to a lady, or somebody is trying to tell you he loves you or admires you in the dream, or somebody is trying to kiss you, or somebody is trying to hold your hands or hug you, evil hug, or somebody is trying to embrace you inappropriately, which is a free feel. Those activities, when you see it in the dream, the person is definitely married in the spirit. It's a pointer, it's a sign, it's a foretaste, it's showing you what has been happening in the spirit. Or even if somebody that you don't know comes and say or propose to you, or try to give you a ring, or try to give you a love note, or try to give you something like flower, yes, you know that the person is married in the spirit. Or even somebody coming to lay hold or lay claim on you, saying, oh, you are my wife, don't you know you are married to me, or you can't escape it, or you belong to me, or any form of proposal like that, the person is married in the spirit. Sex doesn't have to be shown or be seen in your dream to know that something has happened behind the scene, which you don't even know. Don't forget, spiritual things look abstract, they look imaginary, they look surreal, they don't seem concrete. And because of that, the person will be married in the spirit, not knowing. So any form of sexual advances, you know that the person is married in the spirit. Or even if somebody is coming to you while you are sleeping and try to sleep in the same bed with you, they are also inappropriate relationship. Yes, nobody's supposed to sleep around you except your husband or your children. If you are married, if you are not married, nobody. Even if the person looks like your ex-boyfriend or your fiancé, it doesn't matter. They come in different guises, they use different identity so that you can let your guard down. And then remember, these are familiar spirits. They make you become familiar so that you can let your guard down and remove your resistance and embrace them. Don't forget, in the dream, you think you are in real life until you wake up. So these demons are highly manipulative. Like they are very, very controlling. They are very, very selfish, recalcitrant. They are possessive, and they do not want to give up. They intrude in people's life. They bump into people's life, and they are sneaky, and they are sneaky, and they are very generous. Now, look at another one. Another one is anytime you see in the bed, continue with the same thing. It doesn't matter whether it's proposal, engagement, a ring, or what I call mystery relationship, or even any being messing with your sexual organ in any way, shape, manner, or form. Any form of orgasmic feeling. I told you these demons always like to mess with reproductive organs. That is another way they cause trouble. Now, I want to say this again. When you see hormonal changes, that's the next one, because this is related to the one I just catered for us. If you see yourself being pregnant in the dream, or wedding in the dream, or wearing maternity gown, or giving birth in the dream, or breastfeeding in the dream, or any form of love advances, is the same thing. It's a point that the person is married in the spirit. So that is part of what I say, mystery of advances. Now I will come to the sixth one, which I call physical evidence or hormonal issues. This is more prevalent, more pronounced, and more prominent in women. It happens in men, but it's not as obvious as women, because women's hormones make them more complex than men. The reason is that the female hormone are much more like messing with a lot of, don't forget that it's the woman that carries the baby. So a lot of changes happen in their body. So the enemy or the spirit spouse or these forces use them a lot. And we're going to dwell a little bit on this. Both the fifth and the sixth are kind of related. And now look at it this way. Hormonal issues in this physical evidence can infiltrate or come out as natural phenomenon, like demonic pregnancy is one, or they can come as a curse of barrenness or infertility. Gynecological problem or issues like fibroids, polycystic ovary disease, tuber adhesions, adenomyosis, endometriosis, they are all formed, including ceased menstruation or breakthrough bleeding or metrorrhagia, or all kinds of bleeding in women are controlled by the enemy messing with the hormonal balance in a woman's physiology. What hormone does is that it is the spiritual part of us, so to speak, biochemically and physiologically speaking. Why did I say that? Because hormones are chemical messengers. They switch things off and on. They coordinate women reproduction. Hormones are responsible for their mind, their mood, their libido, their action, their reaction is pretty much controlled by hormone, much more than men. And because of that, the enemy uses this hormone to shut things down. It can shut down their reproduction. It can shut down their menstrual cycle. It can shut or cause even cancer or fibroid or tumors or growth, or can even cause premature menopause or hemorrhagia or breakthrough bleeding or all kinds of gynecological emergencies. These spirit spouses are also responsible for obstetric problems like miscarriages or series of miscarriages. This is another thing that you know that the person is married in the spirit. It can cause stillbirth. It can cause midterm abortion. It can even cause total eclipse of women giving birth at all, or women dying on the table during cesarean section. I've seen this happen. One of my friends, the wife was about to give birth on a Saturday. He called me on a Wednesday and said in the dream that he saw a man fighting him, telling him that his pregnant wife that is about to deliver and the child in the womb belonged to him. The mysterious man was fighting him in the dream. And I told the brother, I said, please go into fasting and prayer. Don't just pray. Do a watch. Every 3 hours, make sure you pray and fast. He fasted and prayed. Thank God he listened. The Friday, the wife was about to deliver. She died twice on the table. The doctors had to ask the man to leave the room. She was bleeding like crazy, battling with them. The man went to the corridor, keep on crying to God and so on. Eventually, the child survived, the woman survived. Why not for the prayer? That woman, the child, and everything would have been gone. So the enemy does this a lot, and the doctors can't even explain why the woman was combative, why the woman was bleeding excessively, why the trouble. But spiritually, the man already knew, and thank God he listened. And I want to say the seventh reason, or the seventh sign that there's a spiritual marriage behind the scene. This I call lack of affection. Anytime a husband and wife came to you, before then, they loved each other. All of a sudden, after marriage, they started hating each other. They started finding fault. All kinds of accusation, counter accusation, suspicion comes. You know that the enemy is behind the scene and he has sowed tares, and that before they entered into that marriage, either each or every one of them had a spirit spouse and they don't know. People go to marriage counseling. Nobody talks about this spirit spouse that is responsible for 96% of divorce, separation, and of course abortions and even infertility. They cause trouble in marriage. That's why divorce rate is the same. In fact, it's even better in the world than in the church. And there is about the same 52%. So these demons cause lack of love or lack of affection. Even if somebody is your fiancé, everything will be going on fine. All of a sudden, for no just cause, the person may withdraw. And this spirit also drive away good suitors. Potential suitors, they drive it away because they believe that you've been taken. They are very possessive. They don't want to see anybody come near the person they think is their wife already. And most people are unsuspecting. Most people don't even know. So, child of God, I want to keep it short and sweet. But to recapitulate, for us to summarize, there are at least 7 cardinal points that shows or are telltale signs that somebody is married in the realm of the spirit. One is so-called sexual dreams. And you know this can happen whether the person is married or not, whether the person is teenager or not, whether this person is Christian or not. These forces don't respect nobody. They don't respect culture. They don't respect gender. They don't respect your anointing. They don't respect who you are. They don't respect whether you are bishop. They don't respect title. They don't really care. Number 2 is the so-called water dream. Seeing oneself in any form of water or any form of water dream is a no-no. Number 3 is dream pollution or dream defilement of every kind. Number 4 is any kind of love advances, not necessary sex, like proposal, engagement, ring, sharing ring or giving ring, and I call them mysterious relationship. Number 5 is messing with sexual or reproductive organ. And then number 6 is physical evidence or hormonal issues, which are just catered for us. And finally, number 7 is lack of affection. So these are signs you see. For the most part, you know that the person is suffering or going through some form of invisible or spiritual marriage, sometimes called dream husband, dream wife, sometimes called husband and wife of the night, sometimes called nocturnal emission or nightmares, sometimes called spiritual husband or spiritual wife, or sometimes called spiritual prostitutes of Incubus and succubus. Bye bye. God bless you.